Yo. Top of the morning, man. Today is February the 12th, 2024. This is the NBA ChrisBeCappinn NBA show where I'm live on Twitter right now. I'm also streaming on YouTube as well. Good news. Well, first and foremost, for the people who don't know, this is the NBA betting show where we try to make some cash, potentially beating the line. This is why I'm doing these late night shows, early morning shows, and then that's enough to be said about that. We try to beat the line and make some money sports betting in the NBA. Now, precautions for this week. This is the last week of NBA action before we get into the All-Star break. So I said this last night when I sent out a play to the members. Take it light this week, man. I would definitely recommend taking it light. You're gonna get these big these big slates, but this is when, if you're working a standard job, man, you understand, I got a week before I get to go to go on vacation, wherever that vacation might be. These NBA players got millions. They can go wherever it is that they want to go. Also, go to the actual game, go to Indiana, right? So just always want to start with that. I'm taking it super light this week, but just take that with, whatever you want to take it with. The live shows will be back this week, 5 p.m. Eastern time, as I was doing before last week. We'll be live at 5 p.m. Eastern on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube as well. And if you follow me on YouTube, definitely check me out on Twitter as well at ChrisBeCappinn, 2 P's, 2 N's. Same thing on YouTube. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, you definitely want to be sure to follow me on Twitter at ChrisBeCappinn, 2 P's, 2 N's. The link for all my official plays and live plays, because sometimes I tried to give out a live play yesterday, man. I don't have a recap because I talked about the games. Did do a show yesterday breaking down the games, but didn't give out any official plays. Tried to give out the Celtics and the Heat fourth quarter to go under. I think it was 221. The total was at 226, and just couldn't get it put in time. But it was a personal cash for me. Just thinking that Boston offense would slow down. Miami, not the greatest fourth quarter. I think they're one of the worst fourth quarter offenses. And then Miami would play with some pride, try to win that game yesterday. And they did. They did cover the spread. Jimmy Butler got rolled out. I think it moved up to 8.5, and they did cover the full game spread in that regard. And that was with all the injuries that they suffered with as well. So definitely want to check out the link for the official and live plays in the description, and then the link to the OddsJam promo page as well. CBC, use code CBC to sign up, and that'll get you $25 off your first, 25% off your first month if you guys are interested in anything that OddsJam has over there. So let's get into it for today, man. Couple game. I made one play officially, just so you guys know. A couple things that I'm looking at, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not rushing to play anything. We also got a bunch of games on the board. I'm not even going to break all of them down right now, but I will jump into about 6 or 7 of them real quick, and then we'll discuss the rest of them on the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show when I'll be live this evening at 5 p.m. So let's jump into it for today, man. First game up, we got Pacers and we got Hornets. So real quick on this one, let me just get to my notes real quick. So we have, let's see. Real quick. We have, my apologies. All right, I just want to make sure I got my. All right, so for the Charlotte Hornets in this one, this team just took my money. They took my money on, what was that, on Friday? They took my money. No, it was Saturday. Saturday they took my money. I actually faded them. They won the second leg of the back-to-back. Just had the new trade acquisitions brought in for the team. Trey Man, Grant Williams, Seth Curry playing in front of his dad. The other guy for OKC, but Davis Bertans. All of these guys end up coming over, and it seemed like they had a renowned energy in that game. And this line actually opened at 11. I want to say. I think this was 11.5, and it's come down to 11. I kind of agree with the movement there. The total is coming down from 239 down to 230, 238.5 on most books. Don't agree with the movement there. I think this is an over game. I do lean towards the over 238.5. I just kind of feel like, LaMelo's not there, Terry Rozier's not there anymore. But this team is just looking at the total specifically. Charlotte has these new offensive players. When I think about all of the players that the Charlotte Hornets brought in, I don't think about any of them being defensive guys. Now, Grant Williams can play a little bit of defense, but he played fake hustle defense. But when you think about a guy like Trey Mann, I want to say he had close to a double-double in that last game. When you think about a guy like Davis Bertans who can shoot the ball, and that's what Charlotte really lacks, especially from the perimeter. I think about this game going up and over the total. I don't trust the Pacers playing defense. We know that they are still 26th in defensive efficiency, but they still are number one in offensive efficiency throughout the entirety of the season. It's also the Indiana Pacers also rank first in offensive transition points, and I think they would have tied with the Phoenix Suns. And Charlotte also ranks 29th in defending transition. So I think both of these teams should be able to get up and down the floor. I'm not looking to lay 11 points with a Pacers team that doesn't play any type of defense. And for Charlotte, this is a quick revenge spot. Both of these teams, Charlotte, you can't really trust to take the points at home. This team is just 6-21 straight up, and only 11-16 against the spread at home as well. 3-7 in their last 10 games. We were really fading this team until they got off the losing slide the other day. I think they had lost 10 straight games in a row. So they are just 1-9 against this 1-9 straight up in their last 10 games. And this is a quick revenge. Well, I'm not sure if Charlotte's out to get revenge against anybody, but they'll get they'll get the addition of those other guys to be in. So now you got Bridges, you got Brandon Miller, and like I said, some of those other guys really stepped in and played well. Nick Richards, Trey Mann had 9 points and 9 assists in that last game. He's somebody that's going to be able to shoot the ball from the perimeter. You got Bridges going to the rim, Nick Richards down there, getting rebounds and points. So I do kind of lean towards the over in this game. For Indiana, they'll be without Jalen Smith, and Tyrese Halliburton always on the injury report list is questionable, even though we do expect him to play in this game. And as far as the head-to-head revenge spot, so this total actually, and this is why I play the over. So these two teams just played on February 4th, so a little over a week ago, and Indiana did win and cover that game. It was 115-99. Indiana was laying 11.5 in that spot, and now you see this line open back up right at 11.5. So the books are telling you that they thought that spread was right, even though Charlotte won the game by 16 points. Indiana was extremely shorthanded in that game, and that game went under the 237 total. However, this total opened up higher. So if the total went under, and it flew under. They scored up 214 points, but this total opened at 239. So I do think this is an over-type game. I didn't play it, but and if I was going to play it, it'd be a smaller play for me. But that's the only way I would be able to look in this one is the over. And I'll be taking the points for Charlotte. I'm not laying 11 with the Indiana Pacers on the road. Let's keep going because we got a lot more games to get to. Next game up, we got Philly and we got Cleveland. This game will be played in Cleveland tonight. You see them. I think this line opened at 10. It's come down to 9.5 now. And the total opened at 229. It's come down to 228.5. This is a game that I actually was interested in until I realized what the total was. And then I didn't really like it as much. And what I was looking at specifically, and we've been cashing on this, is just fading the team that's playing against Cleveland. And specifically their team total. Oh, never mind. I do see it now. So when I was capping this game last night, I didn't see the team total come up, but now I do see it up. And I'm probably going to get there on this one. I'm probably going to add this play. Was looking at this one last night. So we know that the Cleveland Cavaliers have been the best basketball team probably in basketball. This team has been red hot. They're doing it with offense. They're doing it with defense. They're getting healthy. Just playing really hard on every single possession, man. I really like the basketball that Cleveland is playing. 18-8 straight up at home, 13-12 against the spread at home. Now you are asking them to cover a pretty big number, which is why I can see the money coming in on Cleveland and on Philly in this side. However, Philly don't move. They don't really move the needle for me right now. I know they got Tyrese Maxey back. I know they got Cam Payne and Buddy Hill, as some additions to this lineup. But this team is just 2-8 in their last 10 games, 3-7 against the spread. Philly is a minus 11.4 in point differential over the last 2 weeks. They're 25th in points per possession, points per 100 possessions, 30th in effective field goal percentage on defense, and 29th in points allowed per 100 possessions on defense. So they're not a good rebounder team. We've been talking about that without Joel Embiid. They don't get to the free throw line as much as they, and generate those easy points without Joel Embiid. And now, they're not playing a lot of defense. So you look at Cleveland, they're plus 14.7 in point differential over the last 2 weeks. They're fourth in points per 100 possessions, second in points points per 100 possessions defensively. So they've been an excellent defensive team. And actually, I think number one in defensive rating over the last 5 games as well. And 14th in effective field goal percentage defensively. So this team is actually playing really, really well. The reason why I couldn't get here with Cleveland is because I do think that the travel fatigue is going to catch up eventually to this team. Now, both of these teams are playing 4th game in 6 nights. I think that's something to keep in mind. Both of these teams, had a lot of games over the last few days. For Philly, they played they hosted Golden State, and then when they were at home, and then they had a day off and hosted Atlanta on Friday. Then they won the second leg of a back-to-back and had to go to DC on Saturday, and they were able to get a really, really big win there. They definitely needed that one. Ended up covering that game by just a point. And they got Miami coming up. And then on the Cleveland side, this team has been traveling everywhere. They had 3 straight road games. Before that, they had 1 game against Sacramento. Before that, they had 2 road games. So not the greatest travel spot here for them either. And they actually played they played in DC, and we were on the team total under for Washington in that game. Then they went to Brooklyn. That was the day of the trade. They smashed Brooklyn. And they had 1 day off, and that was on the second leg of back-to-back. They had 1 day off, and they had to go to Toronto. So a lot of their games have been going under. They are 7-3 to the under in their last 10. 5-1 to the under in their last 6, and it's really just because of their defense. You see how many points they're giving up? Toronto 95, Brooklyn 95, Washington 106, Sacramento 110. Sacramento held them to 110 points. The Spurs scored 101. Memphis scored 101. So how is Philly going to score 110 points in this game? I just don't see it. That's the biggest. That's the play in this game. It'd be Philly team total under in this spot. And I think what I had written in my notes was when I saw the line last night, it was 108.5, and it was already juiced. I think like minus 130. But now that I'm looking this morning, I do see under 109.5 on Bet365 right now using the OddsJam sportsbook screen page. So 109.5 minus 115. I like that number. I'm probably going to end up getting there. The Cavs have held 6 straight opponents under their team total. In their last 11 games, only 2 of their opponents have actually exceeded the projected team total. And in those 11 games, the Cavs are they're allowing 105.5 points per game. In the last 5, Cleveland ranks number 1 defensively. So the only way I would be able to look is towards Philly team total to go under. I think it does correlate with the under in the full game. Even though, like I said, Philly's defense has not been good. They're not able to rebound the basketball. And they are playing with a little bit slower pace without Joel Embiid as well. So Philly team total under is the way I would look in this one. The only way I'd be able to look, and probably going to be a play I end up adding. Like I said, this was 108.5, and it was already juiced. I don't really like taking those extremely low totals, but I don't think Philly scores 59 points per half. I'm just being honest with you guys. So probably going to be a play that I add if I'm being honest with you guys in this one. Let's keep going. If you joined late, hit the like button for me if you can. This was not supposed to come up. Let's see. What did I do wrong here? Okay, I skipped to. All right, so my fault. All right, so let's go. All right, so San Antonio and Toronto, not a very, very ugly game. This is a very unattractive game, but I'm still capping it for you guys. Let you guys know what I'm thinking. So San Antonio, man, I hadn't really realized that this team has not been. Well, I know I won't bet on them, but they have not been doing well at all. Just 2-8 straight up in their last 10, 3-7 against the spread. They're also unprofitable on the road as a dog, unprofitable on the road in general, just 12-15 on the road against the spread, and 5-22. So not too much better on the opposite side, which makes it so unattractive. Toronto, just 11-14 straight up and against the spread at home. And we know that they don't cover numbers at home either. They did get a win against Houston the other day, barely covered that number. And this team is 3-7 in their last 10, 4-6 against the spread in their last 10. However, I think the thing about Toronto I want to mention is that Toronto they have had to shuffle their lineup a lot, right? Like you talk about wanting to fade Toronto because they, were losing all of those games, and they did get smoked by Cleveland, but that was the second leg of a back-to-back. But when they went on that long 6-game road trip against Atlanta and Chicago and Houston and OKC and New Orleans and Charlotte, they were without some guys. Quickly was in and out of the lineup. RJ Barrett was as well. They also had lost Jakob Poeltl in those games as well. And they were really struggling with size. So they trade Thaddeus Young, get him up out of there. along with who else did they trade? They traded somebody else as well. But I say all that to say this. I know that this line opened at 6, I want to say, opened at 7. And you see money coming in on San Antonio in this spot. I'll be still looking to fade San Antonio. 6.5. It looks like in this spot, I still be looking to fade San Antonio. I just don't, and both of these teams are not necessarily the greatest. San Antonio, like I said, just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. And a big part is their offense. They really struggle to score the ball. Toronto's not the greatest defensive team. Don't I'm not gonna lie about that. But San Antonio is 8-2 to the under, and primarily because their offense stinks. They're 12.9 in point differential over the last 2 weeks. The games that they're losing, they're not covering. They're 29th in offensive efficiency, 30th in turnover percentage. So they're turning the ball over, allowing teams to get out in transition. And that's what Toronto likes to eat. They like to get the ball in transition and run up and down the floor. And if you look at San Antonio, like I said, they're turning the ball over at the highest rate, 21st in defensive points allowed per 100 possessions. And Toronto, no, like I said, don't get excited about this team. Just 3-5 straight up in the last 2 weeks. 24th in offensive rating, 28th in defensive effective field goal percentage. But I kind of still lean towards San Antonio to go under their team total, man. I don't think that I know that the Raptors are a little bit better because they haven't been healthy, and that's the only way I'll be able to play this one. Don't want to lay the points with the Raptors, but couldn't talk anybody off. San Antonio just lost by double digits to Brooklyn. I don't think Brooklyn's that much better than this Toronto Raptors team when they have full health. So I do lean San Antonio. I would stay away from the spread, but I think the Spurs being able to score is something that would surprise me in this one. San Antonio team total under 113.5 is the way I would look at this one. And I'm not going to break down all the games, but I did want to kind of, just kind of give you guys some looks that I'm looking at. And this total is actually moving against what I'm saying. I'd said under, but the total for the full game continues to go up. It opened at 233. And it's up to 234.5, 235 on some books. So the higher it gets, the more I like San Antonio team total to go under in this one. Let's keep going. Next game up, we got Chicago Bulls. They will be in Atlanta taking on the red hot. Don't look now, the red hot Atlanta Hawks in this one. So we have this is one I probably should have played last night. Maybe it's played that I'm gonna add a little bit later as well. So let's get into it. So you're looking at the Chicago Bulls. This is a team that, is the Chicago Bulls are a weird team, man. I just think that they're pretty weird. They're 4-3 in their last 7 games, 20th in offensive efficiency. We know that this is not a team that's going to go out there and score a bunch of points, but they are 11th in defensive efficiency, and that's something that kind of keeps them in the game. We know that they always also play at a snail's pace, top 3, bottom 3 in pace in the NBA. And looking at the Atlanta Hawks, man, this team has actually been playing pretty well. They still only 8-19. I'm laughing because they're still only 8-19. They started off so bad against the spread, but it's starting to, turn itself. 8-19 against the spread at home, 6-4 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games. They are 6-2 in their last 8 games. They're the number 1 offensive rated team in the last 2 weeks. The one thing that I think is going to be a big factor in this game is Chicago does a really good job of turning teams over. Like they're top 5 in forcing turnovers. Atlanta doesn't turn the ball over. It's been this way for years now. Ever since they got Trae Young's not a guard that really turns the ball over a lot. DeJounte Murray takes really good care of the basketball as well. And they're 3rd, Atlanta is, in turnover percentage. So like I said, they don't turn the ball over a lot. They are 25th defensively in defensive efficiency, but they are a +4, which is exactly what you see the spread at right now. And this is all over the last 2 weeks for the Atlanta Hawks. They've been playing against some pretty competitive teams as well. When we think about, when they had that, big homestand, they got they didn't necessarily, win all those games, but they did play pretty well. Chicago, 4-7 in their last 4-3 in their last 7 games. And like I talked about, being 11th in defensive efficiency, all of that makes me lean towards the under in this game. Head-to-head, Chicago did beat Atlanta 118-113. That's 2.5-point dogs earlier this season. So this will be the second matchup of the season. And that game actually went under the 238.5. 238 in that game. Bulls 6-4 straight up, 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 meetings overall. And for this game, it's going to be interesting to see if Alex Caruso, he's listed as questionable. On the opposite side, Clint Capella is listed as out. And for Atlanta, this is not the greatest spot, which is why I don't necessarily want to back them here. 4th game in 6 nights for them as well. and Atlanta's been, kind of moving all over the place as well. I know that I think those games started with them being on a homestand. Yeah, they played Boston, covered, played Philly, won and covered, and then went to Houston and won that game as well. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Houston game was actually at home, and then they only got one more game for the All-Star break, which will be in Charlotte. So not a lot of travel there. On the Bulls side, this team has actually been all over the place. So they had just in the last week and a half, they had 2 games at home against Sacramento and Minnesota, but then they had to go to Memphis and go to Orlando. And they also are coming off that overtime game as well. So just one day off. And they did go to overtime with the Orlando Magic, so that's more of a phase spot, and it's more lean towards the under. And I know you don't necessarily want to play a lot of under games for Atlanta, but I do think that's the right side, man. I think a comparable team to the Chicago Bulls would be the Houston Rockets, in my opinion, and they were just in a game where that total was 241. And that game went under the total, pretty not by margin. I think it was by about 9 points is what it went under. And like I said, the Bulls, another team that plays, pretty good defense, but can struggle to score. And Atlanta's defense has actually been playing a little bit better as well. So I do lean towards the under in this game. And you do see the total dropping already. Kind of hard to play under games in Atlanta, unders in Atlanta games, but 237 I do think is a tad bit too high. So 237 is down to 236.5. I do think that that's the way I would look in this game. It's also coming down from the 4 to 3.5 as well. From 4 to 3.5 in favor. So money coming in on Chicago in the spot. I would play the under before I played anything on the side. But never really looking to back the team coming off the overtime game. So those are my thoughts there. And Atlanta been turning up as well. Everything, is going to kind of average out with this team over the course of the season. Next game up, I think it's just 2 more games I wanted to do real quick before we get up out of here. Like I said, if you joined late, do me a favor, hit the like button for me. If you're new to the show, definitely subscribe and turn the notification bell on as well. I will be live again at 5 p.m. Eastern time, kind of going through with the injury news, deep diving in some of the later games because I didn't really go through the last 4 or 5 games at length. So we'll talk about those as well. But let's get into Knicks and the Rockets. So we got the Knicks. They will be in Houston today. First game of this road trip. And it's not a super long road trip because the All-Star break, of course, is right around the corner. But the Knicks have been playing at home. They've been at the crib for quite a while now. And then you find them on the road. The Knicks are, 6 straight home games is what it was before they, finally had to go on the road. And they will start, a bit of a 3-game road trip. So only 2 games played for the All-Star break. And this first one will be in Houston. They'll play Orlando and they'll go to Philly after the All-Star break. So the Knicks, actually a team that's been struggling as a recent, we're talking about recently, loses 3 of their last 4. They've actually failed to cover 4 spreads in a row, coming off back-to-back losses to Dallas and to Indiana at home. We know that they did get Jalen Brunson back, and Jericho Sims is listed as probable, so he should return. He was, I think he was dealing with an illness. And then Isaiah Hartenstein as well, listed as questionable in this game. They'll still be without OG Anunoby and Julius Randle, of course. And then the thing that makes this game pretty unplayable for me right now is the status of Alfred Sengun for the Houston Rockets, right? He's listed as questionable. You got Ken Whitmore, who's been ruled out already. And Fred VanVleet, of course, is going to be out throughout the remainder of throughout the remainder of the first half of the season before the All-Star break. So he's not going to return to after the All-Star break is what I'm trying to say. So looking at this game specifically, you got, like I said, the Knicks, losers of their last 3 or 4, failed to cover the last 4 spreads. They are 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Houston, I think, will struggle in this spot as well. I think this is another game I'm not really looking towards the side. Houston is we know that they're a much better team at home than they are on the road, which is where they typically cover their spread. 17-9-1 against the spread. I'm not looking to back Houston, though, if I'm being honest with you guys, until after the All-Star break. I think that I want Fred VanVleet in if I want to back this team. I just struggle. I think that they struggle to score the ball. I think that they struggle just to kind of get set up, man. You could tell if you've been watching the Rockets play throughout the season, Ime Udoka and Fred VanVleet got a pretty special relationship as far as running the offense and getting things kind of set up. The Rockets have lost 4 in a row. They failed to cover 3 of their last 4 and 4 of their last 6 as well. I'm not looking to back this team. And I want to lay 5 with the Knicks on the road, super depleted from an injury perspective. Not necessarily. They will have, those additions that they traded for. Bojan Bogdanovic will be in for this game as well. I like the under. I think I like the under a little bit more than anything else. This total is actually opened at 221. It's down to 220 and a half. And I would agree there. I do think that, the Knicks play at a snail's pace, of course. The Rockets also play a little bit slower as well. And I think that they're going to struggle offensively without, their main guys. Now, if Sengun is listed as out, this total is going to drop even more, in my opinion, because then you're relying on guys like Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. to run your offense. And don't like that a lot. Don't like that as much at all. And I do think the Knicks going to try to muck the game up. We've seen the Knicks muck the games up without their, key guys being a part of the rotation, especially in the most recent matchups. 7-3 to the under, like I said. The Rockets in their last few games without Fred VanVleet, under in Atlanta, under the 241, and under in Toronto, under the 235. So, and they've only scored 114 points and 104 points in those 2 games. In Atlanta, we know that they give it up left and right. So I think that they could struggle in this spot as well. Maybe even a Rockets team total under, but I do think that Alfred Sengun means enough to this game to where I would wait and figure out his injury status if he's going to be playing or not. Let's keep going. I think I might have this might be the last game that I want to talk about right now. And this is where I do have a play as well. So looking at the and this is probably one of the games of the day, man. Looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, we also got the Timberwolves and the Clippers. Got to dive a little bit deeper into that one. Probably won't end up playing anything. But I do think that that's a pretty interesting game. So looking at Denver, they will be on the road in Milwaukee today. 1-point favorites are the Milwaukee Bucks in this game, and this total is actually dropping. It's actually dropped some since I looked at it last night. So this should not say Knicks and Rockets, and that is, of course, that is not the Knicks and the Rockets. My fault. I thought I had changed this. I do need to go in and change this for a second. Well, no, I'm not gonna go in and change it, but this should say. I'm sorry about the graphic. This should say Knicks. This should say Denver versus Milwaukee, as you see in the actual graphic. But it should say that the Denver is 1-point road favorites with a total of 232 and a half right now. It looks like 233, 232 and a half. So my apologies for that. I'll fix that for the evening show. But looking at this game specifically, so Denver, I looked into this game. I'm very interested in this game. It's one of the first games that I looked into. Denver is actually not the greatest road team. We know that. Just 15-13 straight up on the road. And they haven't been covering 10, 17, and 1 against the spread on the road. Now the Bucks at home, they win the games, but they don't cover 22-6, 22-6 straight up, 11, 15, and 1 against the spread at home. But now you really just need them to win the game here. I do think that this is the Bucks spot. I didn't play the Bucks yet, but when I'm looking into the game, that's the only way I'm looking. Denver is 7-3 in their last 10 straight up, but they're just 3-6-1 against the spread. Milwaukee 4-6 in their last 10 straight up and against the spread. And who needs this game more? I do think that Denver is, they're trying to catch up, right? I think that when you think about the landscape of the NBA right now, you got the Minnesota Timberwolves ranked number 1 in the Western Conference at 36-16. But this game has some implications about who's going to be first and who's going to be second. OKC won yesterday. They're in the top of that upper echelon of the Western Conference as well. And everybody wants the number 1 seed. So they're taking these games pretty seriously. You got a nice little fight going on right now between the 3 teams to see who's going to be in first place. So Milwaukee, well, let's get into the head-to-head. So these 2 teams just played on January 29th, and Denver did win 113-107 in Denver. They were laying 4 in that spot and end up covering because they did win by 6. That game went under the 237 and a half. And that's the way I'm looking in this spot. For Denver, it'll be the 3rd straight road game. They had that game against the Lakers on Thursday night, then got smacked on by the Sacramento Kings. So they're coming off 2 days rest in this spot, which actually fits why I like them a little bit. Well, why I like the total in this spot. Coming off 2 days rest, and they only have one more game back home against Sacramento before the All-Star break. For Milwaukee, third straight home game for them. Came back off of that 5-game West Coast road trip. This is the first leg of a back-to-back. They do got Miami tomorrow, but they'll be at home. No travel involved in that game. And the way I'm looking at this one, I like the under. I gave it out last night. As soon as the Super Bowl ended, the total was 233.5. And that was specifically on Unibet. 233 is out there. Honestly, I'd make this total about 230 if I'm being, is what my projection would say. A couple different reasons. First of all, you got the last game that these two teams just played a couple days ago, about a week ago, that went under. That total was at 237.5. The bookmakers opened this one even lower at 233.5, and money already coming in on the under. That game only finished with 220 points. I look at when two teams play each other within, a 2-week time frame, and the previous game went under, and the total opens a little bit lower in the second game. That's 58% trend going back to 2013. But if both teams are 55% win percentage teams are better, the trend actually moves to 60%, says that the game goes under. You look at the Bucks when they are you look at Denver when they are road favorites. They're 66% to the under in that spot as well. 14-7 to the under are the Denver Nuggets as road favorites. You look at Milwaukee. I mean, they just added Patrick Beverley, which should, continue to improve their perimeter defense, which is where they were struggling at the most. Denver plays at the second slowest pace in the NBA. And on the road, they're 5-3 to the under when they are in these, tight point spread type games. So if the spread is within 3 points, Denver does trend towards the under in those games. Milwaukee actually owns the 8th best defensive rating when they're playing against a top 10 opponent, and Denver actually owns the 10th best defensive rating when they are playing against a top 10 opponent as well. So under this, like I said, this should not say 220.5. That's why you got to watch the video versus just looking. Under 233, I think, is the best number that you guys can get right now. And my favorite play on the board for the entire card. I think that the total is a tad bit too high. I do expect the total to continue to drop. It's down to 232.5, but 233, like I said, I played it last night at 233.5. That's my favorite play on the board for today. Let's see real quick. How long have I been on for 33 minutes? So just a quick recap. If I'm playing the games today, I'm looking towards the Indiana Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets to go up and over that 238 is, I think, the best number right now. And I'm only taking the points with Charlotte in that spot. I do think that they found some renewed energy with the trades that they've made. Philly and Cleveland, I probably will get there and add. Probably I am playing it under 109.5 for the Philadelphia 76ers team total. The number was, like I said, wasn't available when I handicapped the games last night. San Antonio, Toronto, I'd only be able to look towards San Antonio team total to continue to go under, especially with Toronto being, at full strength now. Chicago and Atlanta, I like the under in that spot. Under 237.5, it looks like it's the best number right now. Staying away from the side in that one. Houston and New York, you got to wait for the Sengun news. In my opinion, I will have to wait for the Sengun news to figure out if I wanted to play that game. I think he definitely influences the total and the side. Denver, Milwaukee, like I said, top play on the board. You guys see it right there. Nuggets, Bucks, under 233 is the best number right now. And like I said, I make it about 230, maybe even lower than that. Last game didn't even touch 222. So I do think that, Patrick Beverley going to have these guys riled up. Denver's solid defensively, no matter if they're at home or on the road. But the defense has actually been better on the road. So those are the top looks for today, man. Resources, NBA.com, Advanced Stats, Killer Sports, Give Me the Dog, Odds Jam, Cleaning the Glass. These are the ways that I'm looking, the tools that I'm using to handicap these games. So, people always asking, Chris, where you get this information from, how you handicap the games. Some of these are paid, some of these are free. But actually only a couple of them are paid. But yeah, they've been helpful for me, kind of handicapping the game. So that's what I got for you guys as far as resources today. And of course, as always, man, bet responsibly. Best of luck. Enjoy the games. Like the video. Share the video if you guys can. Subscribe to the video if you guys haven't. Definitely over on YouTube and on Twitter, depending on where you're watching. And the link for all my plays is in the description. I do send out plays to the YouTube members. When I find something that I absolutely love, it's always quality over quantity, though. always quality over quantity. I think that's one of the reasons why we're up about 27, 28 units on the season, is because we're not just playing anything. We're not just playing everything. We're playing what we absolutely love. So that's what I got for you guys. I hope you guys cash today. I am going to go through the comments real quick before I get out of here. Bro, I see one I see right now. Bro C says lean nuggets here. Middleton out as well. Yeah, I do. I forgot to add that part, bro. I did see Chris Middleton's not going to be available for this game. And that's another reason why I like the under as well. Curry says Sixers team total under seemed like the play. Cavs defense been elite. Sixers on the road without a beat. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the only way I'd be able to look there. Yep. What up, Real Stoney? Appreciate you for tapping in. What up, Rue Rizza? Justin says moved on the Bucks plus 1.5 last night. I think the Bucks can get it done too, man. I think it's gonna be a grimy out style game, but they need to win more than Denver does, in my opinion. I would agree there. What up, Rue Rizza? He says flat spot, tired legs, both teams. Like the under, in my opinion, almost to the window. South Indiana Jones says, I'm on Philly with double digits, all the motivation on their side. Wu Rizza says, Chris, I like the full game under. First game back, home off the road trip. Does that affect them more offense or defense? Who you talking about, Wu Rizza? I should have probably been going through these as the show was going on. Bro says Zion should play set against the Blazers. Yeah, I don't really want to lay 9 with New Orleans in this spot, and that line was 9.5. It's actually down to 9 now. Memphis not a team I'm looking to back either, though. Definitely not a team I'm looking to back. I'll go through the rest of the comments offline. What's up, Jamie? Appreciate you for tapping in. What's up, Chris? Melvin says early bird get the worm. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, man. Talk the games out early. Let you guys know what I'm looking at. Best of luck to everybody today, man. Like I said, hit the like button for me if you can. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show. Until then, bet responsibly, man. And I'll see you guys. See you guys then.